Hi, welcome to our channel. I'm Josie.
I'm Arthur.
Welcome to Arthur and Josie. We're glad to have you here, and we are happy and excited about our new subscribers, and we are glad for whoever has taken off the time to watch our videos. And on this, what you should expect on our channel, we upload Christian related content on marriage, dating and faith. And if that's something you're interested in, don't leave without subscribing to our channel. And in today's video, we're going to discuss about how we met. And if something you're interested in, continue watching, sit, get a cup of coffee, and join us.
So how did I meet Josie? I think it was way back at university, after the first year of university, and I'd stayed over at the university it was sort of like a second semester holidays. We used to do some courses, and one afternoon there was nothing to do, so I decided to go visit friends of mine that I'd known for a while, who were singing at the church. And I walked in, and I didn't know what they were singing, so I just sort of sat at the back and I listened to them. And then about 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes later, there's this girl that walks in, and she's very loud, and she's sort of the middle of the party, and she says, "Hi, I'm here," and everyone stops and goes to greet her. And I thought to myself, oh, she has nice legs. It was one of the first things I thought about. And once I was introduced to her, that's when I found out that she was Josephine. We happened to be in the same year. We sort of kicked it off from there. We were part of the same choir, and we continued to meet up, sing together, and just go out for activities, and we took it from there.
The first time I met Arthur was during a school seminar that common in Uganda, and we're in high school, and that's when schools come together to discuss different subjects and topics, a range of topics. That's the very first time I saw him. He was the discussant. He was the one discussing on behalf of his school. And really, I didn't think much about him. He was not liked by the end of the seminar. He wasn't a favorite of so many people from my school, and mostly my school. And that's all I knew about him. And that passed. I fast forward. We met again at church, and surprisingly, we had been in the same fellowship for over 2 years. It was such a big fellowship. I never got to meet him in person, and he had never seen me then. Until after, I could say, 3 years from the first time we met, that I met him. It wasn't 3 years, I think. It could be 2 to 3 years from the very first time I met, that he came and joined the choir. I know there was a conference going on the day, and I think he had come in for the conference, youth conference at church, that he decided to come into the room where the rest of my singing group was a small fellowship choir. So he joined in because most of the faces were familiar. He came in and joined, and I remember walking into that place. I honestly did notice him. He says he saw me walking in, and he says a lot to that, but I didn't notice him that time. But over time I noticed there was a new person in the choir who seemed to be, I didn't really have much to think about him then, because I was at a point in life whereby you're like, whoever comes in my life, I will know whenever they come. So you just see him as anyone else in the choir, not that you would ignore them, you'd say hi, and that was it. And I could say that was the very first time we met. But I noticed who was in the choir, and that was it for them.
So as we were part of this same choir, one of the things that we used to do actually was meet together on Thursdays at that church for Bible study on Thursday evenings. And the university was not too far from where the church was. It was maybe about 3 kilometers, maybe. But we used to normally take a commuter taxi. Now, I remember one particular day when we both didn't have the cash to pay for the taxi, for the commuter taxi, and so we decided to just walk it because it wasn't too far. And there are a number of people with us, but we so happened to just walk together. And we kept talking, and I found out more about her. And over time, I realized that I started caring about her and wondering if she's okay. I had a number, so I would call and find out if she was okay, what was going on in her life, and so on and so forth. And then eventually, I think it was the start of the second year of university. We were at the same university when, after interacting for quite a while, I thought to myself, I think this is a girl that I would like to ask out. But at the time, I'd never had a girlfriend before. I was quite shy, didn't know about how to go about all these things. But we just shared a lot of things in common, and I wanted to just keep on seeing her and being in her company. It made me feel really good. I would like to think that I made her feel good as well. Yeah, and then eventually I think we broke off towards the end of that first semester of the second year. And on the day when we broke off, there happened to have been a wedding, and at which this singing group had been invited. Josephine couldn't make it, although she sang, but then the evening later on I saw her, and I walked her to her hostel, went back to my university hall, and that was the first time that I really thought, okay, now I think the feelings really are there. I couldn't get her out of my mind. So we broke off for Christmas, and I kept on, she lived not too far from where I live, but I was living with my parents. So most of our communication was on the phone, and I just made sure that I kept on calling her, and we went out together on Boxing Day. There was a particular ice cream parlor that we liked. So we went there, we had ice cream, we had cookies, and I wanted to ask her out that day, but I was too shy. But I asked her out a few days later, at the start of January in 2005. And everything has sort of just kept on going since then, and we've continued to grow in love since.
Over time, we started talking. I could tell that actually during the choir, he couldn't keep his eyes off me. And I didn't think much of it. I was like, oh, it's just like any other person. And in all honesty, around that time when I thought, okay, this boy is planning something against me or towards me, and I could notice he wouldn't stop staring at me. And I was like, at that point, I was interested in a different guy altogether. I think girls, we can relate to that when your eyes are somewhere else and someone else is interested in you. It was at that point in life that you're like, oh, okay, I have this going for me. But and then fast forward, we started chatting. He seemed to be interested in me, and probably at that point you never notice what to take of things. You just look at it like it's any other relationship. It wasn't even a relationship, he was just my friend, but you know it would develop into something. Probably something I had experienced in life. He wasn't going to be my first boyfriend. I'd been through a lot of heartbreaks that I didn't think about that much. And also before that, one thing probably I could share, growing up and being in school, I wasn't the girl who many boys liked. We all know there are girls you walk with and are always magnets to many guys. And that's, if I must encourage anyone there who is in the same boat, you don't need many people to like you, because at the end of the day, you'll end up with one person. At least from what I believe, you end up with one person. So you don't need the whole world to be interested in you, for you to be affirmed that you're worthy, that you're beautiful. You just need one person in life. And by the time probably was interested in me, I was eyeing someone, and yeah, we kept on chatting, and I knew he was getting interested in me. I wasn't sold out then. However, over time, the person I was keeping my eyes on was drifting away, not in the picture. You know, when some people come in the picture and then they don't want to do the work, and then they run away expecting you to chase them. And I realized it wasn't worth it. There was a man, a good boy, but then we were young children, so I could say, we're not that young, but I prefer calling him a boy then, who was interested in me and he was quite caring. And I was like, it wouldn't be bad to give this a try. So we started chatting much, walking back home together, walking back to the university together from church. We had fellowships quite often and Bible studies. We walked back often together. And over time, we just started talking. And I remember that time is when I found out that I was 9 months older than him, and that was a deal breaker. And I knew at that point probably we would never end up together, because I was like, no, I can't end up with a man. I can't get married to a man younger than me. And if you are thinking about such a thing, let's not put up deal breakers. One advice for you, you don't need to have deal breakers which aren't actually deal breakers. I don't think age would matter. The important thing is to look out for that person who you think you are ready to wake up to, or you think you're ready to spend the rest of your life to. By my Christian standards, if I'm going to advise anyone who is a Christian, born again Christian, the standard should be that this person should be born again, because with that, there's some way you see things together. I know faith plays an important part in the way we live our lives. To me, right now, when I look back in hindsight, I know that should have been the only deal breaker. I tried to sabotage the relationship, that it doesn't go any further, because I was like, no, he's younger than me, this can't happen. And to realize it's just 9 months, even 2 years, even 4 years wouldn't be a big deal if this person if you understand each other and you're ready and you feel like this is a person you'd like to wake up to. So we decided to date, actually. We went on, started dating. I put that behind me.
Yeah, so I remember now we started going out. I think it was the 4th of January 2005, if I remember. I'm good with dates. And I think one of the things that we did consistently was just to make sure that we saw each other every day, as often as we could. Of course, some days we couldn't, but whenever we could, we did. And at the time, as you know, university students usually broke, don't have too much money, so our dates were very simple. I'd have over sometimes for lunch at my place, and there was a place where I could get food at a good price for a student, and would share it for lunch. Occasionally after church, for example, would go to, there was one particular ice cream parlor that we liked going to. They had really nice ice cream, and they would sit and talk for hours at this parlor. Eventually, after some time, when we started working, both of us started working almost straight after university. Within a couple of months of finishing university, we sort of upgraded to having actual tea at restaurants, but we tried to do a lot of stuff together. And I think for us that was important, because it enabled us to actually build a bond and to get to know each other better by actually spending time with each other. So that by the time I started thinking, I think this is a relationship that can develop into marriage. It's not like it was a big shock, because we had spent all this time together, and I felt like I knew Josie really well, and that she knew me as well because of all the time that we had spent together. We ended up dating for about, I think it was about 4 years before we got married. Just over 4 years before we got married, which I think was a really good time. I suppose that can be a story for another day. We dated, like I mentioned, for about 4 years, and I think we started thinking about marriage about maybe 2 years and a half, maybe 3 years after we had started dating. Now, at the time, we had really, when we were thinking about getting married, one of the obvious things was, how do we actually pay for this wedding? Because we both had family that had just had nuclear. So certainly I'd had a couple of my brothers that had just gotten married, and one of the challenges was that my family would have to foot the bill for the wedding, and it was one of the things that we thought about in the factors. Either way, we had decided that we were going to get married. Now, I bought this ring this wedding, this engagement ring, which I carried around with me for a little while, and I was waiting for the perfect moment to pop the question. I can't say that I was anxious about her saying yes, because we had actually sort of discussed marriage. So I thought to myself, there's a very good chance that she'll say yes. But you never know anyway, you still have to ask the question. And the date that I came up with to pop the question was on the anniversary of when I first asked her out, which was on the 4th of January of 2008. And I took her to this Korean restaurant in Kampala, and they served some really, really good food. The streets were deserted because it's start of the year, there's not too much going on. It was late in the evening, and I thought I would use the restaurant guys to help me pop the question. Feeling romantic there, but I didn't gather up the courage to ask them. So we had our dinner, and I suspected anyway that she was thinking that I was going to say it at the restaurant. So it turned out that I surprised her in that sense. But after the dinner, we were walking down the street, which was deserted at this point, but safe, but deserted. And I thought to myself, well, if I don't pop the question today, then I won't get a better time to pop it. There's nice symmetry with the dates. So I remember it was under a street light, and it was really bright. It was like as though it was illuminating us. I asked her, I popped down on one knee and I asked her to marry me, and she said yes. And that made me really, really happy. And we didn't announce the engagement at that moment. I don't remember when we actually did to other people. I think sort of friends and family got to know with time, I think, when they started seeing her with this big fat thing on her finger. And we then started actually preparing for the wedding. We initially thought of a date in 2008, but that turned out not to really be suitable because, as I mentioned earlier, one of my other brothers was getting married in June of 2008 and had one who had gotten married in December of 2007. So it was too close to give the family enough time to put together the money. We were, at the time, we were not earning that much, so we couldn't fund the wedding on our own. We needed support from friends and family. Eventually, after a bit of drama, we settled on April of 2009. But the good thing is we had already made a lot of preparations, initially thinking of October 2008, that we just carried those over, and it actually helped deal with a lot of stress that you normally have around providers of different services, food and catering and decorations and all that sort of thing. So it ended up being a blessing in disguise. I'm sure we'll tell you the drama around the timing of the wedding itself someday. And we had a lot of support from our friends and family. They were all really happy for us. And if you've been to a Ugandan wedding before, you know that normally you get people coming in and donating some money, and it can be quite dramatic in a good way. And we had all of that. Lots of people were very generous with their donations, to the extent that we had a bit of cash left over, which we used to buy our first furniture for the house and pay off some of the wedding things as well. We had a really great time. Thank you for watching about how we met. I know we recorded it differently. We thought we'd do that for a change, but thank you for watching all the way to the end. And please don't leave without subscribing to this channel. We have lots more where that came from, and we'll have some new content coming up soon, and we hope that we'll see you next time.
Okay, until next time, please like, comment and subscribe. Bye bye.
Bye bye.